Sorry, guys. So this is part 2. So when you appeal to authority, what you're doing is you're dismissing the possibility of gaining different perspectives from different experts in that field. So, for instance, this doctor has an idea of the Tecate 19 numbers. He believes wholly in the CDC guidelines and whatever the CDC says, the World Health Organization. Then there are all those experts and doctors that don't agree with it, that because they have looked into things, they look deeper into what they're being told, they know the field, so they're going to go out and not just go by what the CDC or the WHO told them. They're going to go by their own research and their own knowledge and their own common sense. They're going to go back to biology 101. Okay? Because guess what? From what I understand from doctors, biology 101 is probably as deep as they get into certain things, unless they're like virologists and all the other shit, right? And you also have virologists and other experts that deal with these things that have a different viewpoint, that feel like that the Tecate 19 response and the numbers are being inflated, that they're being told to they're following a different protocol when filling out these death certificates than normal in regards to the Tecate 19. You also have doctors saying that they're being told incorrectly what setting to use the ventilator on. So what's ended up happening is you're giving people the ventilator on the setting where their lungs aren't working, but the lungs do work. It's just not. It's just not. By the time the oxygen gets to the bloodstream, it's not binding to the hemoglobin. You can't. That has nothing to do with your lungs working or not. Okay, it has to do with the conversion, with the absorption of those oxygen molecules by your bloodstream. It's not happening. So what's ended up happening is on these ventilators, people's lungs are being blown out. You get an 80% chance of living if you end up on that ventilator. You get 20%. You're likely to die 80% of the time if you end up on a ventilator, especially if they're using it incorrectly. All right. You have doctors that say that. You have nurses and doctors that are saying, man, we're just doing this treatment. We don't know what we're doing. So what ends up happening is these people are they're killing people. They're killing people that they feel have Tecate 19, and they're giving them certain treatments that's sending their body haywire, that's causing autoimmune responses that destroys the human body, that shuts shit down. When you take all these things into account, you can't just sit up here and say, oh, this doctor that called me, that's the gospel, what he says. Oh, it's what he said. No. I don't roll like that. Okay. So when you take all those things into account, I cannot rock with what this doctor said on the Amazing Lucas' show. I can't do it. I call bullshit, especially when he says, when he's a pro-vaxxer, by the way. He's a pro-vaxxer who dismisses the negative effects of vaccines by saying that, oh, well, whatever sickness you felt like you had, oh, that's a placebo effect. Oh, they tested people with and without the real the vaccine, the real vaccine, and what had happened was the people that had the placebo were still getting fevers and blah blah the blue blow. Like, listen, man, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. Forget your trials. If the vaccine, because he feels like the vaccines are safe and perfect, and you should just take it, right? Well, let me tell you something. If that were the case, why would they need a vaccine injury court? Why would they need a vaccine injury court that's specifically for damage to the person from the vaccine to get paid out? If you prove that the vaccine caused your injury, caused your death, caused this, that, and the third, then you get paid out by the vaccine injury court. And it's paid out billions since its inception. So how could you sit up here and say, oh, the vaccines are safe and this, that, and third, when you know there's a crack scene injury court. If it were safe, they wouldn't need a crack scene injury court. If it were safe, they wouldn't need to force people to take a crack scene. You see what I'm talking about? Another thing that is just it just had my blood boiling, and he had the Amazing Lucas had this moderator in there who just was like, "Oh, thank you, a doctor. Oh, whatever he says goes," and it just it was kind of frustrating because I expect. I don't know, man. I'm not even gonna go there. Okay. It was just wild. The appeal to authority was out of control, and that's the problem. That's just like in regards to police brutality and whatnot. We just gonna go with what a former police officer said about what he feels about police brutality. Let's say that I got Brandon Tatum on my show, and I was like, "Hey, why don't you explain? Can you explain your thoughts on police brutality in America against black people?" Ain't none. Okay, well, let's just roll with that. That's appeal to authority. He's a cop. He said there's no such thing as police brutality. So therefore, I'm going to believe him. And that's going to be what I hang my argument on. No. That's appeal to authority. It makes no sense. Listen, let's talk about the testing. He said that they test every person that had died from Tecate-19, every single one of them were tested, unlike the flu. That's BS. We know that's not true. We know they're diagnosing people with Tecate-19 that have died based on certain things that they died from without getting a confirmed test. We know that's BS, and we know that the Tecate-19 PCR test is inaccurate. The PCR test is not supposed to be used to diagnose a disease. It's looking for an RNA sequence that the Tecate-19 bug allegedly gives off. It's a marker. They're looking for a marker of a virus, not the virus itself with the PCR test. It has not been isolated. It has not been visualized. Okay? And I'm not talking about those pictures they show you. If you look up images of the Tecate-19, it'll show you the Tecate-19 emerging from a human cell. That's not isolation. You have to take a single Tecate-19 viron, or whatever they call it, and you have to blow it up. It has to be by itself. You have to be able to see the parts. And they have done that with a particular virus. It's a bacteriophage that attacks bacteria. Okay, that's what it does. And you have these things in your gut lining, right? In the mucous membrane of your gut that checks the bacteria. If the bacteria decides that it wants to try to pass the mucous membrane, the virus attacks the bacteria and destroys it, keeps them in check. They have actually isolated that virus. And I've actually given a presentation where I showed it. I showed the actual picture, electron microscope image of a bacteriophage, the ones that attack the viruses. That hasn't happened with the Tecate-19 yet. So we don't even know if it really exists. If you haven't, there's a such thing as a Koch's postulate, right? Where it has 4 methods to determine if a virus or if a microorganism causes a disease. But they say that Koch's postulate can't apply to viruses because viruses exist in sick people and healthy people alike. You heard me? Viruses exist in healthy people and unhealthy people alike. All right. So look, I'm going to go through the 4. And like I said, this is not this. They say that this modern medicine says that Koch's postulate cannot apply to viruses right now because of the fact that viruses exist in healthy people, and I'll get into that too. So here's the 4 postulates. 1, the microorganism must be found in abundance in all organisms suffering from the disease, but should not be found in healthy organisms. Okay. The microorganism must be isolated from a diseased organism and grown in pure culture. Has that happened with the Tecate 19? Not that I've seen, not that I've looked recently. If anybody can find that it has, anybody has a picture, please put it in my comment section. If you have an image, I don't mind being corrected, my friends. All right, look, 3, the cultured microorganism should cause disease when introduced in a healthy organism. Doesn't that make sense? All right. The microorganism must be re-isolated from the inoculated disease experimental host and identified as being identical to the original specific causative agent. This is the problem with Koch's postulate. Apparently, there was so he used it for tuberculosis, which it will make you sick. Like, right? It doesn't affect a healthy person without it making sick. And I forgot what the other disease was. I forgot. It was some other bacteria, cholera, because cholera exists in healthy people and unhealthy people alike. When it goes unchecked, it can make you sick. But here's the thing about viruses. Viruses aren't living organisms, right? They're like machines that, oh, listen, okay, so let me back that up. YouTube, this is just satire. From this point, it's going to be satire. So there are certain experts in the field, certain doctors believe that viruses are actually exosomes that are part of the immune system that clean up damaged cells. So if your cell is so damaged that it could corrupt other cells, then the viruses will come out, destroy that cell, and clean it out of there. It's like a cleanup crew, right? But they're not living organisms. Your body uses them, or your cells use them to clean up damaged cells, right? Or to, like the viruses with the saccharide head that inject the cell and then, boost up the mitochondria, give it energy, start producing ATP again. Little things like that. And mind you, the only images I've seen of the Tecate 19 were of Tecate 19 virons emerging from a human cell. Not isolated, not entering into a human cell, emerging from, always emerging. Never a picture of it entering, always emerging. So draw from that what you will. I'm not making any opinion about it, YouTube. I'm just saying. All right. So if the virus is endemic to the human body, then how is it that it can cause problems for you? Well, if it won't cause problems unless there's so many damaged cells, unless like say an organ, right? Let's say your lungs or your heart or your liver, so many damaged cells is just too much and it's growing too fast to the point where the virus is having to clean up too many damaged cells of that organ, and that organ goes into failure because whatever's causing the damage is moving too fast. It's too much for the viruses to handle. Okay. All right. So that is a point of that's what some experts believe, right? That viruses are there to do cleanup because they're not living. They can't reproduce on their own. They need the host cell to reproduce, right? Well, how is it that it's passed from person to person? Now it has to rewrite a code to work for that individual's DNA and RNA. So viruses are specific to the DNA and RNA of that specific host. Again, this is satire. I'm just telling you what experts have said. You guys can check out different experts, Buttar, Andrew Kaufman, these different, do your own research, see what all these different people are saying, then look at the evidence and the facts, and then draw your own conclusions instead of just having one doctor say, oh, well, this, that, and the third. Okay, well, that's good. When you have all this opposing evidence to use against them, like experts telling you that they're attributing COVID to Tecate-19, to deaths where Tecate-19 never caused those deaths. They died from a clear alternate cause. You didn't necessarily die from Tecate, but it's going to be a Tecate death. So that blows everything this so-called doctor had to say out of the water. Point blank and period, in my mind. So I choose, based on what I've looked into in my research, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but guess what? Scientists and doctors are human beings as well. They just studied in an area a little bit longer or a lot bit longer than you have. But that doesn't mean that you can't read and comprehend. That doesn't mean that you can't take results from different experiments and all that stuff and make sense of it. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, they use a lot of Latin words in medicine, right? But guess what? Back in the day, a lot of people spoke Latin and weren't doctors. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, that's all I got for that for now. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Can what that doctor said on the Amazing Lucas's live, can that just be the gospel? Is that we're going to roll with 100% and not have any, like, come on. Or is it that, listen, we got, this ain't adding up to what you're talking about. With the testing that's inaccurate, with the vaccine injury court, right? With them telling us they're applying Tecate-19 to all deaths where they had Tecate-19, even if Tecate-19 didn't cause the deaths. I mean, can you really say that this Tecate is causing these things if you haven't even isolated it and put it through rigorous protocols to make sure that it is what it is? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I'll holler at y'all later. Like, share, subscribe. Much love to you guys. And I'll probably see you on a live tomorrow morning when I go rucking. Peace out.